Alright, so I just got the last two fittings I need for the fuel system. So 180 degree AN8 fittings. And it's probably be one of the second to last video on the fuel system. The last one will be doing the fuel pump and everything. But I'm just coming out to install these two fittings so I could finish up all the fuel lines. I'll just attach them here. And yeah, I should have had them in last week, but they sent the wrong fittings. They sent AN6. I contacted them. They got back to me pretty quick. Like I said, I've ordered from them quite a bit. So if you are looking for them, I'm not sponsoring anything, but if you want to say that 10%. But they actually give you an email. They tell you they're throwing these in and just sharing them with people. So that's what I'm doing. I use this for the Elko and the Monty, both hot rod fuel hose on both of the setups. And I did want to point out, because I know in one of the videos I was going to point out the difference between a returnless style and a return style. On both of these, I'm using the return style. So especially if you're using the stock truck intake, where the fuel rails, you have inlet and an outlet. So one will be a return and one will be feed. So this will be a return style. The returnless style doesn't have both lines coming up to the fuel rails, so you gotta keep that in mind. And the difference is, like even on aftermarket one like this, if I didn't run them, if I didn't Y them off and run a Y to both ends of the fuel line or fuel rails, and have a regulator here, say I just ran the line in to one rail, crossed it over, and then I capped it off back there. I would want a returnless style, and the returnless styles are the ones you see with the Corvette style regulators, or filter and regulator. So you're gonna have a inlet and an outlet. So I think in and return is how it's marked. So I'm gonna climb up under the car real fast. Might be a little dark, but I have the inline filter here for the return line, or for the feed line, and then a return line going back to the back of the car. So I'm not sure how dark that is, but if you watched the previous video, you can see the return line and everything in better lighting. But if my return line didn't start here, I would have it coming out of here, and I'd have this position about the same spot I have the inline filter for the feed right now. But instead of running a return line all the way up to the front of the car, the return line would just run to here and then run back to the tank. And then you just have one line coming out of here for the feed. So that's the difference in between the two setups. But on mine, like I said, I'm running the stock truck intake on here for now. So that's a returnless style, or a return style, because both lines come all the way up. Same thing with this. Both the feed line and the return line come all the way up and run all the way back to the fuel tank after that. So let me cut these lines down to size, get the fittings on, and I'll cut you guys back on. It'll probably just be a quick video. And then the next one, which I'm going to start on today also. Been getting a bunch of parts for the wiring, so that video, or that the wiring process will start shortly. Alright, let me throw these on. Like I said, if you want to do something with the AN fittings, I've used them on both mine. I think they're better than if you do like the rubber hose with just the hose clamps and everything. Yeah, they might work, but these look so much better. But yeah, let me throw these on. I'll cut you guys back on once everything's installed, and we'll go from there. Alright, so there we have it. All the lines are connected. You can see how the driver's side crosses over to the passenger side, and the passenger side crosses over to the driver's side. I did decide to relocate the mechanical gauge up here just because I couldn't have the sensor facing back with enough room to plug everything in. And if it's facing forward, I was a little worried with everything moving around up here, like the belt and everything. I didn't want it too close to all that, so I decided to put the mechanical gauge up front, and then the sensor on the rear. So I think it might turn out a little bit better because of all the wiring and everything. Of course, it'll come out of here, and then I'll try to hide as much as I can up under the intake, and then just have a plug there for the fuel pressure sensor, and the mechanical gauge just be chilling up front like it is right now. So that's how I'm gonna do it. That's how. That's pretty much all the fuel lines. Excuse me. All the fuel lines are ran, so I don't have to worry about any of that. The last step to the fuel system will be wiring up the fuel pump or attaching that to the sending unit itself. That'll be a later video. I think my next step, as far as now, I'm gonna get started on the wiring. Been getting a whole bunch of fittings. Ordered a bunch of parts that I need for that to come in. I'll point those out in the first video for the wiring. But that's pretty much it. I did mount the bracket for the manual brakes. So I mounted that, mounted the brake pedal on the inside. Still have to tighten this firewall or the bulkhead up, and then I'm good. All right. Once I tighten that up, just some small stuff. I think with this, with all the headers, I might have to make one more modification, and that's going to be extending this pipe by about, I think, 1/4 inch. So just bring it out 1/4 inch. That should give me plenty of clearance for the thermostat housing. There's a low profile one that I was considering on ordering, but the more I looked at it, like I said, it would drop straight down. But with these V-band clamps, if I went that route, I don't even think that's on all the way. But if I went straight down, it would hit the V-band clamp. So I think I am going to have one that either exits to the side or have the swivel style. So I think that one's a little bit taller. But if I do extend this pipe a little bit, we should be okay. Should be plenty of clearance for the swivel and for the stock one. I'll just have to get creative when I do the lower radiator hose. But yeah, I might have to take that off, and yeah, it might be on. We'll see. But I'm gonna climb up under there, look at it, but then I'm gonna get started on some wiring. So the videos might be all overlapped. I might have done one the day before, but it's just showing different pieces to the puzzle. So that's about it. Been getting way too much rain, but it is keeping the grass green. But yeah, that's about it. I'll catch you guys on a little bit later.